The moment you stop contacting a man, you don't just go silent. You activate a psychological alarm inside him. And I'm telling you right now, most women don't understand what that silence really does. You think you're walking away? No. You're removing access. You're removing comfort. You're removing control. And when a man realizes he can't reach you the same way anymore, it shakes his ego, his pride, and his sense of power, because he was used to you being available, used to you explaining yourself, used to you chasing clarity while he stayed comfortable. But when you stop, his brain starts filling the empty space with fear, curiosity, and regret. And that's when he will do two very specific things. One will shock you, and the other will reveal exactly how he truly feels. Let me tell you something that most people don't want to admit out loud. When you stop contacting a man, you are not just taking space, you are taking back power. And power is the one thing a man notices faster than words, faster than tears, faster than arguments, faster than explanations. Because a man can ignore your feelings. He can dismiss your complaints. He can even tolerate your anger. But what he cannot tolerate for long is losing access to you. See, a lot of women think no contact is a punishment, like you're trying to teach him a lesson. No, the real purpose of silence is not to punish him, it's to protect you. It's to reset your value in his mind and in your own heart. Because as long as you keep reaching out, you keep giving him the same message, no matter what you do, I will still be here. No matter how you act, I will still chase clarity. No matter how cold you get, I will still warm the room. And once a man gets comfortable in that reality, he stops respecting the gift you are. Let me break it down in a way that's going to hit you right in the chest. Most women don't lose a man because they're not good enough. They lose a man because they become too available, too forgiving, too understandable, too willing to explain their worth to somebody who was never confused about it in the first place. He wasn't confused. He was comfortable. And comfort is dangerous because comfort makes a man lazy. Comfort makes a man stop courting. Comfort makes a man stop trying. Comfort makes a man start believing he can keep you on the shelf and pick you up whenever he feels like it. So when you stop contacting him, the first thing that happens is not that he suddenly becomes a better man. No. The first thing that happens is the balance changes. The scale tips. The energy shifts. And he feels it immediately, even if he pretends he doesn't. Because now, for the first time, he's not the one being pursued. He's not the one being checked on. He's not the one receiving the good morning texts. He's not the one getting the "Are you okay?" messages. He's not the one being reassured. And the silence doesn't just create distance, it creates a vacuum. And let me tell you something about a vacuum, it pulls. That's why silence is so powerful. Because silence forces a man to confront something he's been avoiding, your absence. And absence does something that your words could never do. Your words are negotiable. Your absence is not. Your words can be debated. Your absence cannot. Your words can be twisted. Your absence is clear. Now I need you to understand this part, because this is where a lot of women get confused and they mess themselves up. When you stop contacting him, you are not trying to manipulate him. You are trying to stop being manipulated by the situation. Because if you keep contacting him while he's giving you mixed signals, you're basically volunteering to be emotionally drained. You're volunteering to be the only one doing the work. You're volunteering to be the only one carrying the connection. And a relationship can't survive if one person is carrying all the weight. So the power shift is this. You stop giving him the benefits of your presence without the commitment of his effort. Read that again. You stop giving him the benefits of your presence without the commitment of his effort. Because what many men do, whether they mean to or not, is they treat access like a subscription. They want unlimited access to your love, your attention, your loyalty, your body, your energy, but they don't want to pay the price of consistency, respect, or emotional responsibility. And you can't keep offering premium access to somebody who keeps acting like a free trial. When you stop contacting him, you are canceling the free trial. And that's why it hits him. Because now he has to ask himself questions he wasn't asking before. Where did she go? Why isn't she calling? Why isn't she texting? Is she done? Is she talking to somebody else? Did I push too far? Did I mess up? Is she finally seeing her worth? And that last one is the one that scares him the most, because the truth is, a man will do what he believes he can get away with. And if you've been the woman who always comes back, always explains, always forgives, always gives one more chance, he starts believing you will never truly leave. Not because you're weak, but because you love hard. But love without boundaries turns into self-destruction. So the power shift begins the moment you stop proving yourself. And that's what no contact really is. It's you saying, I'm not going to audition for a role I already earned. It's you saying, I'm not going to keep chasing a man who is unsure about me. It's you saying, I'm not going to keep giving my heart to somebody who treats it like it's replaceable. And when you do that, something happens inside you too, because the silence isn't just about him. It's about you. When you stop contacting him, you start hearing your own thoughts again. You start feeling your own emotions without being distracted by his responses. You stop living off breadcrumbs. You stop waiting for a notification to determine your mood. You stop letting his inconsistency control your peace. And that's when you begin to remember who you were before you started shrinking for somebody who didn't know how to hold you. See, a man can sense when a woman is emotionally dependent. He can feel it. He may not say it, but he knows. He knows when your happiness is tied to his attention. He knows when you're scared to lose him. He knows when you're overinvested. And when he knows that, he unconsciously starts taking you less seriously, because deep down, he thinks she needs me more than I need her. But when you stop contacting him, you rewrite that story. Now the story becomes, she can live without me. And that is the beginning of respect, not because you're cold, not because you're playing games, but because you finally stop negotiating your worth. And here's the part that's gonna make you uncomfortable, but I'm going to say it anyway because you need it. Many women don't realize they are training a man on how to treat them. Every time you accept the bare minimum, you are teaching him that the bare minimum is enough. Every time you keep reaching out after he ignores you, you are teaching him that ignoring you has no consequences. Every time you stay after disrespect, you are teaching him that disrespect is survivable. But when you stop contacting him, you introduce consequences. And consequences are what create change. A man doesn't change because you cry. He doesn't change because you beg. He doesn't change because you write long paragraphs explaining your pain. He changes when he feels the cost of losing you. And that cost begins with silence. Now, let me be clear. Silence doesn't mean you don't love him. Silence means you love yourself enough to stop bleeding for somebody who keeps handing you the knife. Silence means you're done chasing. Silence means you're done overextending. Silence means you're done being the only one trying. And the moment you stop contacting him, he feels the power shift because you're no longer accessible. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer available on demand. And for a man who was used to having you emotionally on call, that is a shock to his system. It's like a man walking into a room and flipping a light switch, expecting the light to come on, and nothing happens. He flips it again, still nothing. He starts checking the bulb, he starts checking the wiring, he starts wondering what changed, because he was used to you lighting up his world while he stayed in control of the switch. But when you stop contacting him, you take the switch back. And now he has to deal with the darkness he created. That's the power shift. And once that shift happens, everything else he does from that point forward is a reaction to one thing: the fear of losing control over you. And that's exactly where the first thing he will do begins. The first thing he will do when you stop contacting him is this: he will test your silence. And I need you to understand this deeply, because if you don't, you are going to misread it and you're going to sabotage your own power. When a man realizes you're no longer reaching out, his mind doesn't immediately go to love. His mind goes to control. Because for a long time, whether he admitted it or not, he had a certain level of emotional control over you. He knew he could disappear and you still check in. He knew he could give you half effort and you still respond with full energy. He knew he could leave you confused and you still be the one trying to fix it. So when you stop contacting him, he doesn't just miss you. He misses the feeling of being wanted without having to earn it. And that's why his first move is usually not a heartfelt apology. It's a test. A man will test your silence the way a child tests boundaries. Not because he's evil, not because he's a villain, but because he wants to see if the rules have truly changed, or if you were just having an emotional moment and you'll come back like always. So he will do things like this. He'll send a casual text, something dry, something small, something that doesn't require vulnerability, something like, hey, or what you been up to, or you good, or long time. And I'm telling you right now, that message is not about conversation. That message is a temperature check. He's not trying to connect. He's trying to confirm access. He wants to see if you're still there. He wants to see if you're still available. He wants to see if you're still emotionally hooked. Because if you respond immediately, if you respond enthusiastically, if you respond with paragraphs, if you respond with emotion, what you're telling him is nothing changed. I'm still the same woman you can reach anytime. And the moment he gets that confirmation, he relaxes again. He goes back to comfort. He goes back to the same behavior. And you're right back where you started, except now you're even more drained because you gave up your silence too easily. That's why this first thing he does is so important, because it's not always romantic. It's not always sweet. It's not always sincere. It's often strategic, even if he doesn't realize it consciously. He's trying to see if he still has you. And if he does, he'll treat you like he still has you. But if he doesn't, his mind starts spinning. Now, the test doesn't always come in the form of a text. Sometimes he'll do something more indirect. He'll watch your stories. He'll like an old photo. He'll react to something you post. He'll suddenly appear in places he knows you might be. He'll ask mutual friends about you. He'll do little things that put his presence back in your orbit without having to fully step into accountability, because accountability requires humility. And most men don't want to humble themselves until they feel the risk is real. So they test first. And here's the part that's going to open your eyes. A man testing your silence is proof that your silence is working. Let that sink in. If he was truly done, he would not test you. He would not check. He would not peek. He would not send that hey message. He would not be watching your movement. The test is the evidence that he feels your absence. But I need you to be smart, because a lot of women get excited when they see that test. They say, Oh my God, he texted, he misses me, it's working. And then they collapse. They give him everything. They start explaining, they start asking questions, they start demanding answers, they start dumping emotions, they start trying to turn one small message into a full relationship conversation. And that's when they lose. Because you cannot go from silence to chaos. You cannot go from power to panic. You cannot go from boundaries to begging. The test is not your moment to chase. The test is your moment to stay composed, because what he is really doing is checking if you still respect yourself. And if you do, your response will be calm, controlled, and measured, not cold, not rude, not emotional, just steady. Because the woman who wins in this situation is not the woman who is the loudest, it's the woman who is the most stable. Now, let's talk about why he tests you like this. A man's ego is tied to his ability to influence. When you stop contacting him, he loses influence. And when a man loses influence, he feels insecurity. He starts questioning his value. He starts questioning his hold on you. He starts questioning whether you're slipping away. And the reason that matters is because a man will fight harder for something he thinks he's losing than for something he already believes he owns. That's why some men don't truly appreciate a woman until she pulls back. Not because they're heartless, but because they're wired to respond to challenge. And your silence becomes the challenge. But don't confuse his challenge response with love. This is where women get hurt. Just because he comes back doesn't mean he came back for the right reasons. Just because he tests you doesn't mean he's ready to change. Sometimes he's just trying to pull you back into the same cycle, because some men don't want to lose you, but they also don't want to fully commit to you. They want you close enough to access, but far enough to avoid responsibility. And the test is his attempt to pull you back into that comfortable middle ground. So you have to watch the pattern. Does he test you and then disappear again? Does he reach out and then give you nothing? Does he send a message but avoid any real conversation? Does he try to flirt without addressing what happened? Does he act like nothing ever went wrong? Does he want your attention but not your trust? Because that's not love, that's possession. That's a man who wants the benefits of you without the burden of being the man you deserve. And the reason your silence is so powerful is because it forces him out of that middle ground. He either steps up or he steps away, but he cannot stay comfortable while you are unavailable. So the first thing he does is test. He tests your boundaries. He tests your self-control. He tests your emotional discipline. He tests whether you're serious. And if you pass the test, meaning you don't overreact, you don't collapse, you don't chase, you don't beg, then the next thing happens. His curiosity turns into concern. His concern turns into urgency. His urgency turns into action. But if you fail the test, meaning you respond too fast, too much, too emotionally, then he learns that your silence was temporary. And once he learns that, he stops taking it seriously. Now, I'm going to say something that might sting, but it's true. Many women think the goal is to get him to text first. No, the goal is to get him to respect you. A text is easy. A man can text you while laying in bed, bored, half asleep, and still not value you, but respect requires effort. Respect requires consistency. Respect requires accountability. And the test is his first step in deciding whether he needs to do more. So don't celebrate too early. Don't get drunk on a hay. Don't lose your mind over a miss you. Don't let one message make you forget the nights you cried, the confusion you lived in, the disrespect you tolerated. Because if you want a different outcome, you have to be a different woman in this moment. A woman who is calm, a woman who is grounded, a woman who knows her worth, a woman who understands that the first thing he does is test your silence And the way you respond determines everything that happens next. The second thing he will do when you stop contacting him is this. He will try to re-enter your life with a stronger mood, but not always with honesty. And this is where it gets real, because this is the moment that exposes whether he truly values you or he just hates losing you. After he tests your silence and realizes you're not folding like you used to, something changes in his mind. The little hey text doesn't work. The casual check-in doesn't pull you back. The story views don't get a reaction. The indirect moves don't bring you running. And now the fear hits him, because a man can pretend he doesn't care when he thinks you're still there. But when he feels you slipping away for real, his emotions get louder. This is the point where he starts doing one of two versions of the same thing. He either comes back with intensity or he comes back with pressure. And you need to know the difference, because one is love trying to reconnect and the other is ego trying to reclaim. Now watch this closely. He truly values you. His energy shifts into effort. He starts showing up differently. He starts communicating with clarity. He starts being more consistent. He starts asking real questions. He starts trying to rebuild trust. He starts acknowledging what happened instead of acting like nothing happened. But if he's only reacting from ego, his energy shifts into urgency without responsibility. He will call more. He will text more. He will suddenly become more present. He might even say the right words, but he still avoids accountability. And that's the trap, because the second thing he does is not just come back. The second thing he does is reveal his true motivation. And the only way you'll see it is if you stop listening to his words and start watching his behavior. See, when you stop contacting him, you force him to answer one question: do I want her, or do I just want to win her back? And a lot of men don't realize those are two different things. Wanting you means he's willing to change what he was doing that pushed you away. Wanting to win you back means he wants you to return to the old dynamic so he can feel safe again. And this is where most women get emotionally hijacked, because when he comes back stronger, it feels like proof. It feels like validation. It feels like, oh my God, I knew he cared. It feels like the movie moment you were waiting for. But listen to me, intensity is not the same as sincerity. A man can come back intense and still not be serious. A man can call you 10 times in a day and still not be committed. A man can say, I miss you, and still not respect you. A man can act like he's losing his mind without you and still go back to the same behavior the moment he feels he has you again. That's why the second thing is so important, because after the silence, he doesn't just test. After the silence, he tries to reclaim. He tries to pull you back into his world. He tries to reestablish the connection. He tries to get you emotionally invested again. And he will often do it with one of the most dangerous weapons a man can use on a woman who still loves him: emotional confusion. He'll say things like, I've been thinking about you. He'll say, I didn't realize what I had. He'll say, I miss you. He'll say, can we talk? He'll say, I've been going through a lot. He'll say, you know I care about you. And sometimes he'll even say, I love you. But the real question is not what he says. The real question is, does he take responsibility? Because responsibility is the difference between a man who wants you and a man who just wants you back. Let me make it plain. If he comes back and he avoids the truth, he's not coming back to build. He's coming back to reset. If he comes back and he tries to skip the hard conversation, he's not coming back to grow. He's coming back to comfort. If he comes back and he wants you to forgive him without him changing, he's not coming back because he respects you. He's coming back because he misses the benefits of you. And the reason this second thing happens is because your silence created a consequence he wasn't prepared for. He thought you'd always be there. He thought you'd always reach out. He thought you'd always care more. He thought you'd always be the one fighting for the relationship. But now you're not. And the moment a man realizes he may have lost a woman who truly loved him, his ego panics, his pride panics, his comfort panics. Because now he has to face the reality that you were not replaceable. And let me tell you something that's going to set you free. Men don't always miss the woman first. Sometimes they miss the way the woman made them feel. And that's why some men come back. They miss the attention. They miss the validation. They miss the loyalty. They miss the softness. They miss the forgiveness. They miss the way you made them feel like a king, even when they weren't acting like one. So when they come back, they try to re-enter your life in a way that pulls those benefits back toward them. But here's the powerful part. Silence makes him work for it, because now he doesn't know where he stands. He doesn't know if you still want him. He doesn't know if you've moved on. He doesn't know if you're talking to someone else. He doesn't know if he still has access. And uncertainty is a man's worst enemy when he's used to control. So what does he do? He escalates. He shows up stronger. He tries harder. He pushes for a meeting. He pushes for a conversation. He pushes for closeness. He pushes for reassurance. And the biggest mistake you can make is giving him reassurance before he gives you change. Because reassurance is what relaxes him. Reassurance is what makes him stop trying. Reassurance is what returns him to comfort. So if you want to know whether his comeback is real, watch how he handles boundaries. A man who values you will respect your pace. A man who values you will understand your caution. A man who values you will not rush you. A man who values you will not guilt trip you. A man who values you will not pressure you to just move on. A man who values you will show patience because he understands he damaged trust. But a man who is driven by ego will get frustrated. He'll start saying, "Why are you acting like this?" He'll say, "I'm trying, aren't I?" He'll say, "You're doing too much." He'll say, "You're holding grudges." He'll say, "If you can't let it go, then forget it," because he doesn't want to repair. He wants to reset. And if you pay attention, his behavior will tell you everything. So the second thing he will do is this. He will come back with a stronger attempt to re-enter your life. And in that attempt, he will expose whether he truly respects you or he simply can't stand losing you. And this is where you have to be disciplined, because your heart will want to believe him. Your emotions will want to melt. Your loneliness will want to give in. But you have to remember, the goal is not to get him back. The goal is to get the right version of him back, or to walk away with your dignity intact. Because if he comes back with words but no change, you're not getting love. You're getting another cycle. And if you allow him back without accountability, you're teaching him that your silence has a price tag, and all he has to do is act emotional for a moment to buy you back. But when you stay firm, when you stay calm, when you require real effort, you force him to make a choice. And a man's choice in this moment will tell you everything you need to know about what he truly feels. Now, this is the part that separates the woman who gets her power back from the woman who loses herself again. Because once he tests your silence, and once he tries to re-enter your life with stronger energy, there's one trap that most women fall into. And it's not because they're weak. It's because they're human. They still have feelings. They still have memories. They still have hope. And hope can be dangerous when it's attached to the wrong man. The trap most women fall into is this. They break their own boundary the moment he shows interest again. They think the silence was the whole strategy. They think the goal was to make him come back. They think the moment he reaches out, they've won. But listen to me closely. Getting him to come back is not the win. The win is getting him to show up differently. Because a man can come back and still not change. A man can come back and still not commit. A man can come back and still be emotionally lazy. A man can come back and still keep you in confusion. And if you're not careful, you will celebrate his return while he quietly returns you to the same pain. That's why this section matters, because this is where women lose the advantage they worked so hard to build. See, when he reaches out again, your emotions start talking. Your mind starts racing. You start replaying every good moment. You start thinking maybe he finally realized. You start thinking maybe this time will be different. You start thinking maybe I should just hear him out. And hearing him out is not the problem. The problem is going back to the old version of you, the version that explains too much, the version that forgives too fast, the version that overgives to prove love, the version that lowers standards to keep peace, the version that accepts crumbs because you're afraid of losing the whole loaf. Because the truth is, many women don't just want love. They want closure. They want clarity. They want the story to make sense. They want the man to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I choose you. And when he comes back even a little bit, it feels like you might finally get that moment. So you rush, you answer fast, you become available again. You start giving him access again. Access without commitment is what caused the problem in the first place. So let's talk about what you must do differently, because this is where your self-respect is tested. When he comes back, you have to remember why you went silent. You didn't go silent because you didn't care. You went silent because you were tired of being confused. You went silent because you were tired of being disrespected. You went silent because you were tired of doing all the work. You went silent because you were tired of feeling like an option. You went silent because you were tired of loving someone who loved you in pieces. And if you forget that, you will romanticize his return and minimize the pain that made you leave. And that's how women get stuck. They keep leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back. And each time they come back with less dignity and more desperation. Because every time you break your own boundary, you teach him that your boundaries are negotiable. You teach him that your silence was temporary. You teach him that your standards have an expiration date. And a man will always respect a woman less when she doesn't respect herself enough to stand firm. Now, I'm not saying you have to be cold. I'm not saying you have to be cruel. I'm not saying you have to play games. But you do have to be disciplined, because discipline is what protects a soft heart. Discipline is what keeps you from making emotional decisions in a moment of weakness. Discipline is what stops you from confusing attention with intention, because attention feels good, but intention is what builds a relationship. And the trap is that many women confuse a man's attention with his commitment. He'll call you, he'll text you, he'll show up, say sweet things. He'll act like he's changed. But if he is not consistent, if he is not accountable, if he is not respectful, if he is not willing to do the work, then you are not getting a new man. You are getting the same man with a different mood. And moods don't build marriages. Moods don't build security. Moods don't build trust. So here's what you do when he comes back. You don't hand him your heart again just because he knocked on the door. You don't hand him your time again just because he apologized. You don't hand him your body again just because he said he missed you. You make him earn access with consistency, because consistency is the only apology that matters. A man can say sorry all day, but if his behavior doesn't change, his apology is a performance. And women fall for performances because they want the story to end with love. But love is not a story. Love is a standard. So you keep your standard. You keep your boundaries. You keep your pace. You keep your dignity. And you watch him. You watch if he stays consistent when you're not giving him instant gratification. You watch if he respects you when you don't rush to forgive. You watch if he shows up when you're not making it easy. You watch if he's willing to do the hard work of rebuilding trust instead of demanding you get over it. Because the man who is serious about you will not be offended by your standards. He will be inspired by them. He will understand that you are not difficult. You are valuable, and valuable things are protected. Valuable things are not handed out to anybody who asks. Now let me address another trap, because this one is subtle and it destroys women quietly. The trap is the urge to prove to him that you're not mad anymore, to prove you're not bitter, to prove you're not petty, to prove you're mature. And women do this because they want to be chosen. But listen to me, you do not need to be chosen by a man who couldn't see your value until you left. You need to choose yourself. And when you choose yourself, you stop performing for love. You stop auditioning. You stop trying to be the cool girl who accepts anything. You stop trying to be the understanding woman who tolerates disrespect. You stop trying to be the ride or die who dies emotionally just to keep a man comfortable. Because a man doesn't fall in love with a woman who sacrifices herself. He benefits from her, but he doesn't respect her. Respect comes when a woman knows she can walk away. Respect comes when a woman doesn't beg. Respect comes when a woman is willing to lose a man who isn't willing to meet her standards. So the trap is breaking your boundary too soon. The trap is giving him access too quickly. The trap is believing words over behavior. The trap is letting your loneliness negotiate your standards. The trap is letting your heart override your self-respect. And the way you avoid the trap is simple, but not easy. You stay steady. You stay calm. You stay patient. You let him show you who he is. Because a man can act right for a day. He can act right for a week. He can act right when he's scared of losing you. But if he's truly changed, he will act right when he feels secure again. And that's what you're testing. Not his emotions, his character, because character is what keeps a man consistent. Character is what keeps him loyal. Character is what makes him show up. So if he comes back, don't rush to restart the relationship. Restart the standard. Make it clear, without drama, without arguing, without long paragraphs. If you want access to me, you have to show up differently. And if he can't, then your silence wasn't just a tactic. It was your exit. And that's the moment you stop being a woman who waits for love and you become a woman who requires it. Let me leave you with this, because I need you to hear it in your spirit, not just in your ears. When you stop contacting a man, you are not losing him. You are removing yourself from a situation that was slowly killing your confidence. You are stepping out of the role of the woman who always tries and stepping into the role of the woman who is not optional. Because the truth is, if a man truly values you, he will not be comfortable with your absence. He will not be okay with the distance. He will not be able to sleep peacefully while you're slipping away. He will show up, not with a cute text, not with a late night "I miss you," but with clarity, with effort, with consistency, with respect. And if he doesn't, then your silence didn't lose you a man. It saved you from wasting your love on someone who only wanted the parts of you that benefited him. Stop begging for a seat at a table you were never meant to sit at. Stop chasing someone who gets stronger every time you shrink. Stop handing your heart to somebody who treats it like a convenience, because you are not a backup plan. You are not a late night option. You are not a maybe. You are the kind of woman a man either chooses fully or he loses completely. And if your silence makes him disappear, baby, he was never yours. He was just passing through. But if your silence makes him rise, if it makes him humble himself, If it makes him finally come correct, then you'll know it wasn't your love that changed him. It was your absence that forced him to respect it. So don't break, don't fold, don't go running back to what broke you. Stand still, stay silent, stay powerful. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment you remember who you are.